we should have our British Supermoto Championship Group C riders making their way down to us. So that race sponsored by Contract Solutions, the engineering company up in Scotland, run by our elite rider, Jamie Duncan. Looking out of our commentary box window, it is absolutely cracking the flags here, Bradley. It is glorious sunshine, a few clouds in the sky, but it's definitely toasting up out there.
It's not too bad, is it? I should have put my shorts on this morning, but here we are. It's certainly turned out to be pretty decent weather, like you say. I mean, there's looking at the flags alongside us, there is not a hint of wind either.
Our top three for our Supermoto Group C riders will be the 96 of Lewis Cowper, who managed to keep the 150 of Liam Pearson at bay in our race 2. And then starting on the front row, it will be the number 41 of Ed Darnton. But I will preface that by saying, if he can get that bike up and running. So we did just see him at the end of our academy race before our short break, and both me and Brad, we nipped outside, get a little bit of fresh air, and our riders made their way up to have their podium moment. But Darnton, what a lucky lad, one of his sprocket bolts sheared just as he came into the paddock. So he was very lucky for that not to happen while he was out on track. So his dad's now got a busy job to try and get that bike up and running to see if he can make it out for his next race. Looking down there on the start line, I think that's Edward Darnton leading him down to the grid. So Darnton and Cowper, there he is. So it is Cowper that takes pole position. There is Liam Pearson taking up that second place. And then Edward Darnton just having a quick chat with our Marshall Kirk there on the grid. Behind him, just over his shoulder, there is Jason Laycott, the Bathmate rider on the 159 on board that Husqvarna. Then we have Philip Brigg. There is Bathmate team boss. That's John Oakes, the number 95. He's been having a good weekend so far. Big thumbs up there from Ed Darnton. So good to see he's managed to make the grid. As we take a look back there, seeing which other riders we can catch a glimpse of. The little wave there from Cowper. We've also got Dean Clark, Steve Smith, Lily Rhodes out in this one. So looks like a slightly diminished grid from what we saw earlier, but I'm sure it'll offer all the exciting racing all the same. So, lights out and away they go, and it looked like a good launch there from the 150 of Liam Pearson, but it is the legs of Lewis Cowper on that 450 that manages to take the whole shot into mere hairpin.
Certainly is, and they go through the left and the right, which brings them nicely into this 180-degree downhill right-hander, and it's the number 96 pole position man of Lewis Cowper who leads the way from the man who was in the middle of the front row, Liam Pearson, making a much better start than what he did earlier on in the day, and Edward Darnton in third position. So the front row still as you were, and next up was at the 159 of Jason Laycock. So everybody just filtering now down into their qualifying positions, but Edward Darnton looking racy, trying to already find a way through on Liam Pearson.
It is, but it looks like Cowper's there getting the hammer down and trying to pull a lead as they head into the off-road section for the first time of asking. So it is Cowper from Pearson, Darnton and Laycock are our top four front runners as they make their way through the off-road. So you can see it is Cowper there extending that lead, but Darnton opts to go for the outside to inside line, as does the number 6 of Dean Clark there. So the only two riders that didn't opt for the inside to outside line, but it's worked well for Darnton. He's found a way through on the 150 of Liam Pearson up the step up, and that has promoted him up to second place.
Certainly has, and as Lewis Cowper makes his way round the left-hander and the right now, it brings them out off farm bends and back onto the front straight. This is where, unfortunately, Edward Darnton will lose out, but Liam Pearson tucked in there on the number 150 machine, and it doesn't look as though he's close enough to make a challenge to go in towards mere hairpin. So Edward Darnton somehow holds on to second position as they go down the front straight, but the number 96 of Lewis Cowper, he has a 1.8 second advantage already at the end of lap number 1.
Yep, Darnton able to extend that lead over Pearson enough that 250 was not enough power for him to be able to retake that position down the straight. But as they come through this tight flip-flop section, it is Darnton that will have the advantage, being able to get the power down on that 85 as they head now back towards the house.
Certainly doing behind the control tower, behind the house now. There's a race in towards the left-hander that brings them into the dirt section. The 41 is the man that we're looking at, the young man of Ed Darnton, as he makes his way over the jump then and into this split lane. So he again goes to the outside. That gives him the inside line, And Liam Pearson on the 150 bright orange machine. He goes inside, then outside. But here comes Edward Darnton. This is the move that saw him go from third to second. This time around, it goes from second to first. So Ed Darnton on the 85cc bike leads the way.
Yeah, absolutely cracking pass there from the number 41 of Edward Darnton to take the lead of our final C Group race of the weekend. But Lewis Cowper using all the power of that 450 to nip back past him down the straight, and then that demotes him back down to second place. And it is also worth mentioning, we can't actually see Darnton on our timing screen at the moment. So whether he's on a wet bike with no transponder, he's not showing up on time. But I can assure you, he is currently sat in that second place.
Talk about bringing a knife to a gunfight on an 85 against 450, but it seems to be working for him as he makes his way in towards the paddock section now. So number 85, Phil Rigg, credited with, at the moment, 4th on our timing screen. That will be 5th in real terms as the leading 3 make the way around the back end of the circuit, behind the control tower, behind the house and back into the dirt. We're looking at the number 6 of Dean Clark as well, who is in position number 6 on that number 6 bike. And he is playing chase to Phil Rigg. It was half a second as they came across the line. That time around a little bit too close there and just forced to lose a bit of time as they enter the dirt.
Yeah, it looked like the number 6 of Dean Clark just outbraking himself ever so slightly, as we saw him do earlier on today into the off-road section. And again, opting for the inside to outside line there and following Phil Rigg, as does Laycock and Rhodes there on her 250. So up over the step up through our Trips UK off-road section, then back out onto the tarmac section. And you can actually see the dust is clearing slightly. There is a cleaner line there as they exit the off-road. But it is still Rigg from Clark as they head down to our start-finish straight.
So that is the battle for 5th and 6th position. Lewis Cowper is the quickest man on the circuit on that lap at the 1 minute 23.168. He's got a 1.3 second advantage over Pearson, it's showing at. But of course, Ed Darnton is in between Cowper and Pearson as well. So it's 1.3 seconds covering the top 3 riders.
Yep, it is, and it looks like Lily Rhodes there keeping the pressure on Jason Laycock, so that would be the battle for 7th place there. So Rhodes on board her KTM 250, keeping the pressure on the Bathmate rider, but we rejoin that battle at the front. It is now Cowper from Pearson and Darnton demoted down to 3rd place as they enter the off-road section.
So yeah, Edward Darnton still in the podium position at this stage with 4.5 laps to go. But this time, yeah, he does go for that favoured outside to inside line. And this is the move that saw him go from 3rd to 2nd on lap 1, 2nd to 1st on lap number 2. But he's through now up into 2nd place. And it's going to be 2 for the price of 1 because Edward Darnton was in 3rd. And he's got that inside line and just about edges out Lewis Cowper. In fact, really edges out Lewis Cowper for the race lead. So I think that Edward Darnton is going to use the fact that he's on an 85cc machine to his advantage because Lewis Cowper isn't exactly going to send him over the berm, is he?
No, I think that was a little bit harsh there from the 41 of Edward Darnton there, showing Lewis Cowper very much the edge of the track. And again, Liam Pearson squirming under braking there on board that KTM 250, just trying to nip through on the 41 of Darnton. And he does manage to get it stopped, which promotes him back up to 2nd place now, chasing down Cowper. And it looks like John Oakes there getting in the mix as well. The number 95, our Bathmate team boss, he's there in currently 4th place, but showing as 3rd on our timing screen as it stands.
Yes, certainly is, as this time around it was, 4. Well, the gap was showing as 1.5 between John Oakes and Liam Pearson as they came across the line. And, we're watching as we go in towards the dirt section now. So, on that previous lap, we're into the 25s and 24s. John Oakes was in the mid-23s, as was Phil Rigg. Unfortunately for Philip Rigg, however, on bike number 85, he is 4 seconds down the road. As, again, Edward Darnton goes for that outside to inside line. And, he can't do it again, can he? Surely, going from 3rd, he's now up into 2nd place. And he's not close enough to make the challenge on Lewis Cowper.
I thought he was going to give us one of his very own Bathmate replays there, going for a 2-for-1 on Pearson and Cowper, using that outside to inside line to his advantage. So he's able to get that 85cc machine turned. And look at him there, toying with Pearson as they head down the straight. Darnton knowing he is underpowered on this straight, but messing with Pearson. And it is still John Oakes there that sits in a comfortable 4th place, watching this all unfold in front of him.
So third place at the moment for Edward Darnton, but Lewis Cowper is doing a great job out in front there. He's defending that race lead from the 150 of Liam Pearson, but Pearson is just struggling to find a way through on Lewis Cowper, but they all do bunch up in that paddock section, and this is where the 85 is perhaps the ideal machine compared to the 450 and the 250 in front.
Yeah, and there's that battle for 7th between Laycock and Rhodes. So Rhodes still all over the back of that Bathmate machine, but not able to find a way through. So we'll keep an eye on it here. So Darnton all over the back wheel of the 150 of Pearson as they head up over the tabletop, and then I can predict Darnton's going for the outside to inside line, and you can see he is able to carry a lot more speed than those two bigger bikes as they make their way into the off-road. So Darnton snips straight up the inside, and I think he's got a 2-for-1 there.
It certainly has, and yeah, it is the number 41 of Edward Darnton who now leads the way. So let's have a look, actually, as they come through Farm Bends. Does Ed Darnton lead as they come across the line? We've got the number 96 of Lewis Cowper behind him as he looks across, and they are going for the line now. And no, it is Cowper that leads across the line ahead of Darnton. So it's going to be a very, very tall order for Darnton if he wants to try and take victory. I can't believe I'm saying it, on an 85cc bike in this Group C race. Yeah,
it's going to be really tricky, especially as Darnton doesn't have that transponder on there. So it is going to be hard for our lap scorers to try and monitor that situation, but I'm sure they are doing. And Pearson, again, nips straight back through. So it is really a battle for the lead with 3 riders in contention, and John Oakes looking in from the outside there in that 4th place.
Yeah, he's just keeping a watching brief there, isn't he, in number 95. And I love the style of Ed Darnton as he just hoists the front wheel up over that slight bump that brings them into the lower paddock, and into the dummy grid area and back into the dirt. So we're watching Lewis Cowper. And whereas these heavier machines kind of get into the dirt, would you say the 85, the lighter bike, just kind of skips across the top?
Not always. Now, I've just seen there, Liam Pearson has done the right thing. He's opted to change his line, which does not allow Darnton to carry the speed that he did have. So 3 riders there went outside to inside. So that was Darnton, Pearson and Oakes. It has, unfortunately, allowed Cowper to extend his lead slightly there, but Pearson doing the right thing and not allowing Darnton that advantage that he had. So this means as they rejoin onto the start-finish straight, Liam Pearson's able to use the power of that of 250 to be able to pull a gap now on Darnton, and it's also allowed John Oakes to nip through into 3rd place. So is Darnton able to get him now on the brakes, as this now becomes a 4-rider battle for the lead as we head into our last lap?
I think we already know that he's going to try his absolute hardest to try and find a way through, and John Oakes, look at him, look the inside, oh no, gets his nose chopped off there. There's Edward Darnton from John Oakes. And this is for a podium position, of course, as well. So Lewis Cowper and Liam Pearson, 1st and 2nd in this race. They are well out in front. But looking now, there is a big gap back now to Edward Darnton.
Yeah, so Darnton and Oakes there, I think, having a bit of a come together as they came up that banking. So I think we just missed that there. But there is definitely now a significant gap back down to Darnton, and Oakes is nowhere in sight. So Oakes now will be tumbling down our order, because it's then Darnton and Laycock still being chased down by the 58 of Lily Rhodes there on board that KTM 250, 56 apologies, as they come in through the off-road. So Rhodes there on her 250 chasing down the 159. So again, opting for the inside to outside line. I do think Lily is potentially struggling to use that other option line, just as trying to manhandle that 250 around that really tight inside berm could be quite challenging for her.
Well, across the line to take the checkered flag, it's the number 96 of Lewis Cowper, who does take victory over the 150 of Liam Pearson with a 1 minute 22.045 on that final lap for Pearson. Here's the battle for 4th position, as Edward Darnton is already through. It's the 159 of Jason Laycock, behind Phil Rigg and ahead of Lily Rhodes.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye out. There is John Oakes. He does not look happy as he comes across their line on his Bathmate KTM. So it looks like he's had a coming together with the overzealous Edward Darnton as they came up into that paddock section. So we'll have to keep an eye out. But both riders rejoining, which is what we like to see.
So Dean Clark and Simon Billam across the line, the number 6 and the number 104. We're looking now at the 66 of Jonathan Reed as well, which will round out the 12 finishes within this race.
Yeah, so Reed there, just coming across the line, he managed a best lap time of a 1 minute 30.144, but here is our top 3 riders. So there is Cowper, Pearson and Darnton all in the pits down at the bottom, so they'll get their opportunity to head up to the podium and have their moment here at Oliver's Mount.